What's up, Justin?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me. It's so nice to be here.
Can you maybe start out with the with your theme song?
Yeah, that's what I normally do. Justin Hawkins rides again. Again. Oh.
Okay, so how did that theme song, why did you decide to have a theme song? Because I love the idea of having a theme song.
The first time I did it, my producer said you should have a theme song. And then we were filming. So I think I did something like, it was on a piano, and I don't know many piano chords, so I just sort of, I think it was in A before. I don't know what I did, but it had a rising inflection as opposed to the descending thing. So in Justin Hawkins, something like that, and then I thought, well, it's not really doing it, so I needed something a bit posher. I transplanted that from an unfinished song, and the song may never be finished now. There's no need. That's the essence of it.
That's a song in itself.
Do you know? I think it's like. Do you remember there was a yogurt company called Danone?
Oh yeah, it's still out there.
Okay, well, I don't know if they're still using the same jingle, but they used to have a jingle that went Danone. And I think if you try to expand that into a 3-minute song,
I'm probably going to get like a copyright strike for that.
Yeah, probably. Or a lifetime supply of gut health, drinks for the mornings. But yeah, I think it's a bit like the Danone of the music analysis world, really. It doesn't need any additional kind of context to that, I think, would be extraneous and superfluous.
Okay, so Justin, why did you start your YouTube channel in the first place? And by the way, anybody that doesn't subscribe to Justin Hawkins Rides Again, subscribe.
Thank you, Rick. I really appreciate that. I started it because I was doing a Patreon before. It was COVID that meant that touring musicians, which is that's my main job still, I think.
Yep.
We couldn't really do anything at all. I mean, I was stuck in Switzerland in an empty house. And all of my sort of musical collaborators were in the UK. I was just stranded, and my friend who's a tattoo artist said I should do a Patreon. So I started the Patreon, and it was actually, I think I had like 600 patrons, but I was providing quite a lot of content. I was doing fitness videos.
Okay.
And, archery, dancing, darts, some music-related content, but I got pretty comfortable on camera, and so then my producer said, well, it's been a couple of years of Patreon, why don't you try doing a YouTube channel? I think you'd be good at it. And at the time she was running a channel, she'd actually built up a YouTube channel for somebody who must remain nameless. So she'd had some experience in building up somebody's YouTube presence and felt that I had some of those skills.
Which you do.
Yeah, I mean, I was skeptical, to be honest, at the time, but it did all right. It started really well. Then it plateaued a bit, and then certain things happened. Like one of the big things was interviewing you was huge for me because loads of people came over from your channel, which I really appreciated. And then things like the Oasis news. Like if you're quick to jump on those things, then it's really rewarding because, like Oasis is a really easy thing to talk about, I think. It's because I was like 18 when they were coming up, and I saw them on their first tour of the UK when they came to Norwich, which, that's probably the only time they ever came to Norwich, and I don't blame them. Yeah, I just when stuff like that happens, it's actually fun to do and, sustainable.
So how do you decide what to talk about?
That is the difficult part of it. I'm sure you have the same set of challenges because you can either do. Can I put this down? Actually, because you can either do what the algorithm would suggest is the right thing to do. Things that are like, I suppose the people that consume music through YouTube, if you were to profile them, I think you'd want to sort of do stuff that appeals to a certain profile of an individual that uses a computer in a certain way.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm not sure.
Okay. I think this is what I was worried about today. So I think they're going to be male.
Okay.
I think they're going to be between 14 and maybe 20. I think they're going to like stuff like Polyphia. They're going to be perhaps not voluntarily celibate, but they're going to be celibate.
Okay.
They're gonna like people who approach the guitar in a different way to the way that you and I are used to seeing it approached. Using it more as a percussive instrument, and perhaps played seated, or at least strung in a way that looks as though they've practiced and learnt seated. And that's the kind of stuff that doesn't excite me, unfortunately. You know, it's like, for me, it's like I would rather use my channel to cover things that are just not going to get any sort of exposure than that, because I find excitement in all kinds of different places musically. But the things, when I get really excited about a thing and it's like nobody's really aware of it, and I'm like, oh my God, everybody should listen to this, it's awesome. But then nobody watches that episode.
Okay.
So it's kind of, so nobody wins, really. That's the eternal conundrum for me, is like, what do we cover? Do we cover the things that excite me or the things that make the channel successful? And they're always, there's very seldom, like Venn diagram, there's very little overlap.
Just before we started on camera here, we were talking about Britpop and kind of the rivalries that there were that don't really exist in rock music anymore. And these are all really pre-internet things, if you think about it, when Oasis and Blur, things like that were going on.
You know, that rivalries thing, it used to be, that was the thing that used to make people excited about music, even in the 80s, I think. Do you remember Wet, Wet, Wet? Mm-hmm. And Bros? I mean, they're two completely different musical entities. Wet, 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 they're like a soul band from Glasgow. And then Bros was the identical twin brothers who sang pop music. But for some reason, you were either in the Wet camp or in the Bros camp. I don't know whether they slagged each other off in the press in the same way that people did in the 90s, but it just seemed like there was just this wonderful, tumultuous decade where glam rock was done. And I don't think it was grunge that killed it. I think it was bands like Nitro that killed it, because then, you know, nobody's going to be able to sing higher than Jim Gillette. Nobody's going to be able to play as fast or as ridiculous as Michelangelo Batio.
Yeah.
So I think Nitro was like the natural conclusion of that, and it meant the end for bands like Extreme, unfortunately, and you know, other interesting glam rock stuff from that period just wasn't allowed to
Although
flourish.
Extreme was successful with their couple ballads, and even though they made the really great rock records, but you know, More Than Words was such a big hit, and that it transcended.
It's like an Everly Brothers type song,
Right.
isn't it, that one?
Yeah.
I love that one.
But Nuno is one of the greatest guitar players of his generation. I mean, still one of
I think
the
he was
greatest guitar
born
players.
10 years too late, though. Because he'd be competing with Eddie Van Halen, wouldn't he, if he was a bit younger.
So I always wondered this. How big were certain grunge bands in England? Nirvana was obviously big in
Nirvana
England.
was massive. Nirvana was so big that when I was like 13, 14, I was starting to play guitar, and it was my thing. And I was like, okay, so this is what separates me from, that's my Sigma, not taking part in the hierarchy. That's my identity. I'm a fucking guitar player. Everyone else can do their thing, right? It was completely defining me. But I was also into sports, and I was playing football for local teams and stuff. And but I didn't really fit into the football scene. I was a music guy. And then suddenly, all these other football players are picking up guitars and playing Nirvana type stuff, you know, and in bands. And I was like, fucking hell, it's not my thing anymore. I was kind of like furious about that. But yeah, Nirvana was big, Mudhoney was big, Sonic Youth was big. Trying to think, there's a lot of sort of shoegazy stuff that was coming up as well, but some of that originated.
Talking like My Bloody Valentine, Swerve
Yeah,
Driver.
Swerve Driver. I'm definitely talking about those guys. Yeah, and those are the kind of things that my brother was really into. I loved grunge, but I loved industrial as well. So like all these, when I suppose glam exploded, and then there was all these other sort of facets.
So as you got into the later 90s, American bands like Korn, did people care about Korn? Or
I don't think I cared about Korn.
Okay.
In fact, I didn't realise that they were American, actually. I thought they were from, like, a different part of East Anglia.
Okay.
Who am I thinking of? I'm pretty sure that the logo, I can see the logo in my head
But
right
the
now.
new metal thing that happened in the later 90s, early 2000s really was something that was more American.
No, I'd say it was prevalent in the UK as well. I think
Was
they were,
it?
Yeah, they were having hits and stuff.
Okay.
And, like the guitar scene was definitely dominated by that kind of stuff. But at that point in my life, I was kind of like, I'm done. I thought I was too old because there'd been some bands that came through sort of mid to late 90s that were way younger than even I was at that time. And they were all good looking and doing guitar music. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to concentrate on doing music for adverts and television programs and things like that. And my band will be my hobby. And that's fine. I was happy with that.
What about guitar playing? Who are your guitar influences?
I'm going to surprise you.
Okay.
Brian May.
Not surprised.
Yeah. Here comes the big shock. Angus.
Yeah. Not surprised, yeah.
Mark Knopfler.
Okay.
Lindsey Buckingham.
Yeah.
Probably a few others. More recently, Richard Thompson, Jerry Reed. I love his playing. Mm-hmm. And I've been trying to sort of teach myself some Joe Walshy, slidey stuff as well. I'm still learning really because I'm self-taught mostly, and that's why I don't. Sometimes when I sort of say things that are, they're supposed to be theory observations, I don't always have the right terminology and stuff because I'm just sort of trying to express it in the way that I understand it, which probably makes my channel it's a bit theory light, but it's more cultural. I talk about the cultural significance of things, I think, more than theory. Because I don't really understand it, and sometimes I say things and it's just bang wrong. I'm using literally the wrong word, or just saying it wrong, or getting it wrong as well. But I'm not afraid of mistakes. I think they're in everything. Especially music. I think mistakes are my favourite stuff.
Okay, what about bands like the Beatles and the Stones and Zeppelin? And is that before your time? Obviously, it's before your time, Justin.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, it's. But now I'm obsessed with the Stones.
Okay.
Like I don't listen to anything else apart from I listen to Townes Van Zandt and the Stones and Warren Zevon.
Okay.
At the moment. And I don't know about you, but I have like I just have these little.
You go through periods of time where you kind of get obsessed with somebody.
Yeah, I do, and I've done all the. I had a long Led Zeppelin obsession. It was kind of irritating for everybody around me. I was just sort of so.
Okay, so if I said, give me the top 3 Led Zeppelin records, what would you say?
I love the first one. Mm-hmm. I really love Houses of the Holy. And I think, because in those days, I think albums were like diary entries that showed you where a band was at. Yeah. I love how shredded his voice is and how like some of the drum parts, like the cymbals land in the places where you don't expect them to, and it's because it's sort of patchwork and they're not functioning as a band properly. But I still think Physical Graffiti is a great record.
Great record. Okay, give me Stones records, top 3.
That's much easier. Because the greatest album of all time ever is Exile on Main Street. Sticky Fingers is hard to beat. Third one, I think I want to say Goat's Head Soup, but at the same time, in the same way, in that same diary entry way, I don't like the songs as much or the listening experience, but I love the anger of It's Only Rock and Roll. I just think that there's some stuff in there where you can hear that they're fucked off with the critics, and there's something in it that's sort of self-destructive and a bit kind of they're parodying themselves a little bit, which is I think that's when all that sort of people doing impressions of Mick started probably,
So I love Goat's Head Soup. Angie is my favorite. That's really one of my favorite songs of all time. And I love the sound of that record. But Exile, to me, is just absolute masterpiece, including my favorite Stones song, Happy, which is actually Keith singing.
So good.
when I saw the Stones play last year, or whenever it was, I think last year, Mick was had a cold, and so that Keith got one extra song, and they did "Happy."
Oh, that's
as a set.
awesome.
So that's the first time I'd ever seen
so
him play
cool.
it, which was very cool.
There's a great bit of footage. Have you seen the Ladies and Gentlemen, the Rolling Stones?
Yeah,
And
oh
it's,
yeah.
It's that tour, I think, just after they'd finished Exile. I love it when they do Happy and then, like, the spotlight's on Mick. And I think he's kind of like telling the lighting man, he's singing it, he's doing that. It's such a great gesture. I use it all the time now.
Okay, so the Stones records. What else? But you're not a Beatles guy.
I am a Beatles guy, yeah. I love the Beatles. I love them. I've always had a favourite Beatle as well.
Who is?
Sir Paul McCartney.
Uh-huh.
He's my favourite. I think his solo output demonstrates how great he is. There's just something turn of the last century in the sort of melodic choices he makes and stuff, and to have that inform the rock and roll things that he does is really exciting to me.
Okay, so why is it that there's so many of the greatest bands of all time are British? Why?
Oh, that's simple. Because we're better at music.
Okay.
I mean, it's just the way it
That's
is.
a pretty easy reason.
I don't think that's necessarily true.
In all seriousness, why?
It's difficult, isn't it?
Okay, so I have a theory.
Go on.
It's just because of weather, because it rains all the time, and then people are kind of stuck inside, and they can actually learn how to play.
I think that's why music's getting worse, is because of global climate change.
Okay.
It's getting warmer. People are going outside. They're not spending as much time focusing on being great musicians.
Although some people might argue some of the greatest guitar players are around today, at least technical guitar players that are spending loads of time posting on Instagram.
Is greatness and technique, is there a correlation necessarily between how brilliant your technique is and how great you are?
None.
There's none. Yeah. Some of the shittest guitar players are also the greatest. I mean, Keith Richards is one of the best examples of an amazing... I'd rather watch him play guitar than anybody else in the world. And he can't do a lot of stuff that Nuno does. Or he can, he just chooses not to.
Yeah, maybe he can't. Maybe he really
He's
can.
got it all, yeah. Imagine.
Backstage, he's...
Yeah. That's how he lets off steam, just before any sort of confrontation, and then he just gets on stage and he's all done. Now he's just going to chill. I think it's more because England's an Ireland. Well, the UK is a set of islands. For a while, and maybe it's still true today. I think music was the UK's biggest export, and I think maybe it's the second biggest after steel. Maybe it's the biggest now. I don't know. It was the thing that really upset me about the whole Brexit stuff, because I think the touring arts were overlooked massively, and it was a huge part of the economy of that country or set of countries. And it's something that we've always been really proud of. So I think there's a certain stigma to being a struggling musician, obviously, but we really celebrate the fact that we've produced some great artists over the years. It's just in the culture now. We had a couple of flukes, and then I think it defined us as a sort of, our sort of contribution culturally, I think, to the world has been music.
So you live in Switzerland now.
Yeah. And
I went to Switzerland one time, a couple years ago, and I loved it. What is the music scene like in Switzerland?
Okay. What I'm about to tell you may surprise you.
Okay.
I can't stand playing in Switzerland. I hate it.
Okay.
I really hate it.
Why is that?
I think the audience is really difficult to get going. I don't think there's a certain sort of... You know how, when bands are on tour, they always go, the London show's tough. The New York show can be tough, just to get an atmosphere going. I don't really struggle with those places, but I really struggle in Switzerland. I can't get anything out of them. And on the last tour that we did, actually 2 tours ago, I said to our manager, can we just not do a Swiss show? Just skip it. I know I live there, but let's just skip it. And it was like, yeah, but look at this. And then he showed me a spreadsheet of all the different places in Europe that we would be hitting, like Italy's and French shows and all that. And the Swiss show was literally twice as much money as the others. So I said, well, actually, can we do 2 Swiss shows? Can we just play there a bit more? Maybe just do a tour of Switzerland.
No, is it a place that bands avoid? Do they avoid Switzerland or no?
If you want to maintain morale,
yeah.
Because you don't really, I think as a touring, it's like as a touring entity or a touring business, you don't see the benefit of playing like a highly paid show in the midst of like a tour that's more or less breaking even. You don't recognise the fact that you need these shows, and it makes no difference for morale. You want to be playing to crowds like Italian crowds that are just like all excited and you're having great times.
And where are the cities in Italy that are great to play in?
There aren't any bad ones to play in Italy. I just think I always enjoy Modena. Rome's great. Milano is always fantastic. We always play this place called the Alcatraz. It's a big club, but it's awesome. And if you do rock and you kind of like you're committed to the no, we don't have any pre-recorded accompaniment and we don't use clicks or anything like that. It's all just humans playing rock and roll.
That's so novel.
Yeah, it is like they're like, what is this? But yeah, they just love it. They treat us like Princess Diana. But I mean, but Switzerland's tough. I think it's like it's such it's one of those. This is my theory. Actually, this might be my theory about London as well. Okay. If you're in Europe and you're a musician, you're a struggling musician, you're a dedicated musician, you don't have a safety net, and that's what all these great bands are. These are people with no safety net. The alternative is working in a factory. So they're not necessarily educated. They're not coming from posh families. So you move to London, and London is a place where, as a bureaucratic exercise, there's a certain obligation to be present and visible. Her Majesty's revenue services are not going to let you live like that for too long, but you can sleep on people's floors. You can make ends meet. You can just about struggle by, and you have like a window of opportunity as a young individual in that city to make a difference culturally and be an artistic force and break through. And if you don't, then you go and get a normal job. But you've got a few years when you can sleep on people's floors and do that. And that's what me and my brother did. We all, and Frankie, our bass player, we all did that. We did our time on people's floors and van tours and stuff like that. And the UK is a country that allows that. Switzerland is not. Switzerland is a bureaucratic exercise. The first thing you do is you get health insurance, and if you haven't got a job, how do you pay for your health insurance? So you get a job. But the good thing is you could be working at the post office and making the same amount of money that a head teacher makes in the UK. It's a huge difference. Like in the standard of living's amazingly comfortable, but you've got to be in the system.
So are you saying that it's too easy in Switzerland there's not the struggle? And
no, I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying in Switzerland you cannot exist off grid. You cannot be.
Got it.
You can't live rough. You can't live on people's floors. The climate there, like it's boiling hot in the summer, but it's freezing cold. If you try and live homeless in Switzerland, you're dead. One cold season, you're done.
Right.
And you'll go somewhere warmer. You'll go to Italy. The Swiss music scene has suffered because it doesn't allow people to have that bohemian existence that the UK does still. The UK has done everything it can to stamp it out. There was a time in the 90s, towards the end of Britpop, ironically, which is when, I think the English music scene was absolutely on fire. They did this thing where Tony Blair's new government was like, okay, and I'm going to do this not in Tony Blair's voice, but perhaps in Mick's voice. Yeah, so the UK music scene is really important to us. Okay, so what we're going to do is the New Deal for musicians. The New Deal for musicians it was an idea where like people who had been signing on and jobless for a long time would be, perhaps they'd be given like some kind of training position with vocational elements of that were in like a recording studio. Like you might have somebody from the New Deal working here, just as a T-boy or something like that, just to get some experience. And it was really just an exercise in changing the numbers. So like the unemployment crisis in the UK didn't look like that anymore because a lot of people were in training. They were still
so they didn't
unemployed.
count them as unemployed then.
Yeah, they were unemployed in the way that you and I would think of somebody as not having a job. That's
right.
Unemployed, But because they were in the New Deal for musicians, they were training. So I thought, oh great, the New Deal for musicians, that's awesome. Because I'd had a publishing deal, spent all my money on the studio, didn't have any work, and I needed to sign on again. So I said, okay, I'll sign up for the New Deal for Musicians. And I went into the first meeting, and they said, great, New Deal for Musicians, that's awesome. Yeah, here's the new deal. You can either work in an office or you can work in a garden. I was like, okay, can I work in a garden like in the summer and then like in an office in the winter? I was like, no, you got to choose one. So I chose office, and then luckily the band happened. In spite of that, you know.
Okay, so
but yeah, I think they did their best to stop that thing. But in my view, the reason why great bands come out of the UK is because they're supported in a way that there are cracks in the system that allow them to exist in there while they're developing and becoming undeniable, you know, becoming live entities or songwriters or having experiences that make them outside of the normal. And you can't do that in Switzerland.
So when did The Darkness get a record deal, and when did record deals stop happening for rock bands?
I think...
and why?
Oh, that's such a good question.
Actually, give me some history of kind of the progression of the music industry, let's say from the mid-'90s on.
Okay, but it'll be from my perspective.
Yes.
I might be wrong, and I'll probably get some of the dates wrong too. But I think in the mid to late 90s, every band in the country wanted to get a record deal and would see that as having made it. You know, obviously the ones that did achieve that sort of signed status realised that that's actually when the work starts.
Yeah.
But it was always the goal, you know. It's like, oh, do you reckon that's a signable band? Or do you think they'll get signed? Did you get signed? No. Oh, well then, okay. So you're a local band. You're either a local band or a signed band.
Mm-hmm.
And we were a local band.
Mm-hmm.
We were a local band up until 2003, I want to say. And that's when our first record came out. But I'd done some music for adverts that paid for that first record.
And you made the record on your own?
Yeah, we made it on our own. We didn't have any sort of A&R interference. Sorry, support. What did I say? Yeah, it was unsullied by the hands and ears of A&R folk. In fact, we even had the track listing, like we knew, because it was, we went to South by Southwest a couple of times, and the kind of interest that we were getting was from American Atlantic Records.
Okay.
You know, like they liked us, which sort of bled into some more serious interest from the UK. East West was the equivalent at the time, and I think when we started releasing our own singles and it was sort of gathering traction, we had really great support slots with bands like Wild Hearts and Def Leppard, the Stones, and stuff like that. We were doing bigger and bigger stuff as a live band, and that was our reputation really. And it was kind of like I think at that point Sony and some Warner's subsidiary labels were aware that we were going to happen, and then they wanted to sign us. You know, we knew that we were going to have a hit, and part of my thing was like, well, we're going to have a hit. It's a hit record that we're working here, and it's obvious. We can all see it. Nobody's taking a chance on us.
Could you have had the hit without being signed?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because it was already, the momentum was already there. They signed us just before I Believe in a Thing Called Love.
Yeah.
And they had to do that. It was like, oh, fuck, someone better sign us. You know, and the money was going up exponentially every time they talked to us, and it was Sony and Warner's that were in competition. But I think the reason why we went for Warner's was because Sony said to us, and to be fair, they were just being honest.
Yeah.
He said, great, you're going to sell a lot of records. That's awesome. We're going to get on just fine. If you don't sell many records, we're going to have a bit of a fallout. I was like, okay. I was like, oh, I was really hurt by that at the time. I was like, well, don't you want to sort of ride it out with us and be in partnership through these lean years that you're anticipating? Or no. But they were just being honest, you know, which is pretty cool, actually.
Okay, so just for people that may not know this, Okay, so most of the people watching this, if this is an extremely big song. It's got about 400 million plays on Spotify.
Yeah.
And what was going on with the song when you actually signed your record deal? Where was it getting played?
Okay, so I think that version of it, we'd recorded that in 2001.
Okay.
We put it out we pressed 200 copies of it in 2002.
Okay.
All of them sold, and it went to number 180 in the charts in the UK, but it got spot played by Joe Wiley on Radio 1.
Okay.
And I think Dave Grohl was in the studio with her when they played it and was...
Explain what Radio 1 is for people
Radio
that
1,
don't know.
okay, Radio 1, I might be mistaken actually. It's either Radio 1 or Radio 2. It's one of the BBC sort of most popular radio stations that they would broadcast. They would have sort of like highly paid DJs that were doing the breakfast show and drive time and all that kind of stuff. But it was the main... Most of the country would be listening to that. And Jo Whiley was somebody who was, I think her background was like she would always champion sort of indie bands and she was excited about guitar music, and she was able to use her status as a Radio 1 DJ or Radio 2 DJ to bring things like that into the mainstream, help bands like us break through, you know. So she was really supportive in the olden days, and that's really important to us, you know. I think in the UK, here's another thing they used to say in the 90s and noughties. They used to say that in the UK, the press is what breaks bands, or is the most important sort of, you know, aspect of the media that you would want to push your music. In Europe, they used to say it was just playing gigs, just being there, like physically being in those territories. But in America, they used to say it was the radio.
Right.
We had a really strange relationship with the UK press. It was sort of like, they would say things like, the first national coverage we had said that people have been to see us playing, they're saying that we're like the gay AC/DC. And then they'd be like, but actually they're the straight Queen. So it was kind of like, it was always AC/DC Queen, AC/DC Queen. It was always that kind of, and then wondering where we sat on the irony stroke seriousness scale. And when you're sort of in your infancy as a band, that's actually can be quite damaging.
Yeah.
Because in the UK, there's also this cool thing as well. Like that's like, oh, we're the UK, we're the tastemakers for the rest of the world when it comes to music. What if this band are you know, doing a cruel prank on us? You know, we better not be too glowing in our, you know, assessment of their abilities and all that. So we had a bit of a struggle with being taken seriously.
Okay, so you sign your deal. Did you guys have your record remixed or anything? Because usually labels want to do something.
Yeah. They wanted a clean version for Walmart in the States.
Okay.
So we did one. There's a song on there called Black Shark. And I think it goes Black Shark, Black Shark, Black Shark. That dog don't give a fuck. So for Walmart, I had to change it to That Dog Don't Give a Duck.
Okay.
And then there's a bit at the end where I go woof because it's about a mythological hellhound. And for the Walmart version, I changed it to a quack. Also, there's a.
Now, did you not want to change it, or did you change it because you're like, okay, we have to be in Walmart?
No, we weren't given a choice.
Okay.
At that point, you know, it was like, if we want to have like a fruitful relationship with our American label partners, then this is what you're going to do. So we just did it.
It's so quaint now at this point, really, to think about with the way the music business is, right?
Yeah. But there was always things in videos as well, wasn't there? Like you weren't allowed to sort of portray, you know, drinking of alcohol or smoking of nicotine, which I think is fair enough. But then you look at what people actually watch on YouTube now. There's no censorship, or, you know, well, to a degree, there's no censorship. And there's just lots of party scenes. There's blood and guts and all sorts going on now, isn't there? Okay,
so how important is social media? I mean, you're a social media, you know, I mean, for better, you know, whether you like it or not, you're a, I'm not going to call you an influencer, Justin.
I like to think of myself as an influential person on social
Yes.
media, but perhaps not an influencer. An influencer with a small I.
Okay, so how does social media, or how do you promote a band? How do you promote the Darkness?
Well, funnily enough, that gentleman there is in charge of the Darkness's socials.
Yeah.
And my assistant there does my personal ones.
Okay.
It's important to keep the two things separate because
Because you have your own personal brand.
yeah, and I think my
Which is
stuff
kind of unusual.
very much so. And years ago, I was working with Linda Perry, and I love Linda Perry. I don't know if you must have come across her a few times.
Of course, yeah.
She's amazing. I think she's one of the people I've really loved working with because I think she's so talented and really does the right thing for the song and all this sort of stuff. And writing with her is a joy. I just think she's brilliant. So we were writing this song, and I didn't know what I was writing it for. It might have been for me, might have been for the band, might have been for some other artist. I don't know. Just writing for the sake of it. And she said to me, "Look, I know you are the Darkness, but..." And then went on, and I was like, "Really? That's what people think? It's not. It's four people, you know. And it's me and my brother as well. Like he's probably the de facto leader of the band. It's like I'm not really." If I am present at meetings, I'm not really paying attention. You know, it's like he's definitely the driving force of it, and I'm kind of like following his lead 9 times out of 10. And I just don't like being kind of involved in a lot of the strategic sort of planning of the band. I just find that really overwhelming, and I don't like knowing where I'm supposed to be as well. Like that's why I only wrote to you like a few days ago, because it's like, oh, Atlanta, yeah, that's where Rick is, you know. So it didn't occur to me that we'd be able to do something like this, because I don't like thinking too far forwards, you know. I like just rocking up and doing stuff.
So I'm interviewing you both as
yeah,
as your YouTube personality,
I guess
right?
so.
as an influencer with a small I, and as a member of the Darkness.
Yeah. Luckily, we're the same person.
You are the same person.
Yeah. Because I think, like, with the YouTube thing, most of the observations that I'm making are basically informed by my experiences with the Darkness.
Yeah.
So I have a friend who's
I'm trying to think of an equivalent. I don't know of any equivalent of somebody that's from a big rock band that has their own YouTube channel that's really like a serious YouTube channel. Which is what
yeah.
It's very, very unusual.
I suppose that is quite anomalous, isn't it? The thing is, I think one hand tends to wash the other, though. Mm-hmm. So it is sort of it's been beneficial for both entities, you know, to be able to go on the road and have those experiences. Like I wouldn't be able to say half the stuff I say because I wouldn't know what I was talking about. And equally, I think it's brought a new audience to the band. So double win.
Okay, so I'm gonna play my favorite song off that record here. The verse melody is so beautiful, but then the pre-chorus is so deceptive of how it leads into the chorus, because it really fools you, because all of a sudden you're kind of almost, I mean, I'm kind of waiting. When the first time I heard it, 20 years ago or whatever, I thought, oh, this is the chorus here. It's kind of deceptive the way it's the arrangement of it, and then you fall into that chorus. But then the chorus has the two halves where you go up to the high part, and I just think it's really beautiful. I love the structure of it, everything about that.
Well, we probably spent more time on that than anything else on that record, but and we thought that was the hit. Because we thought everybody's going to listen to that and hear the things that Rick Beato hears. It was kind of like our friends and our label and our management were all like, no, that's the hit. The really immediate, I Believe in a Thing Called Love thing was
well, maybe this will be a hit now.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be good. Could do with that, a resurgent kind of...
You worked with Roy Thomas Baker. I think it was on the next record. Right?
Yeah, that's right. The second record was Roy, yeah.
Now, Roy died this year. What was it like working with him?
Well, I don't know, because that first record had, hits on it.
Yep.
It was, I think we more or less we took meetings with some of the biggest names. We took a meeting with Mutt Lange, had a lovely dinner with him.
Okay. You don't have a picture of you and him, do you?
No, I don't think so. I would be unrecognisable.
So you didn't work with him?
We didn't work with him, but we had a lovely meal with him and some back and forth about the possibility of working together. And I think the thing about Mutt Lange is that in those days, he would only work on something that was a guaranteed super mega smash.
Okay.
Which is like, it doesn't work. I don't think
Did
it works.
Did he tell you that?
No, but that's just the impression I got. I don't think he explicitly said that to me, but I think his track record at that time, coming into the early noughties, it was obvious that he only worked on hits. And I didn't know, I couldn't work out at the time whether that meant that he wouldn't take something on unless it was, unless in his sort of crystal ball he could see that it was going to be successful still. Or if he took established things with established momentum, or if it was him that was making it the hit. But what I didn't like was, he said, send me everything you have. Like, even if it's just like a song start, even if it's just a riff, just a word, just a bit of singing, just anything like that. And I just had this idea that he would be creating a patchwork song, a collage of all these things. And I'm sure that's how he does stuff, And it's really effective. And like, there probably is like a blueprint to making a Mutt Lange style mega hit song. Mm-hmm. But is it art? Is it a rewarding way?
Well, Back in Black is art.
That's unquestionably art. But I think there are some producers, Mutt Lange included, that will insist, I think, on, like, it's not just a sonic enterprise for them. I think it's like a writing process as well.
Okay.
And even if that means sort of creating a collage of the bits that you give them, and maybe every single bit is something that you've pulled from the ether yourself and then handed over, but the way it's arranged and stuff, there are producers that will insist on taking a certain percentage of the publishing. And I'm not sure if all of the artists that work with Mutt Lange are comfortable with that, and we certainly wouldn't have been. For me, I think songwriting is a noble and sacred art. I think it's something where you sit down and you wait for it to come, and if it doesn't come, that's too bad. You can force it. There are certain things you can do. But the work I put into it, I value it, and I'm not happy about throwing that stuff away. For better or worse, I'd rather not have a hit than a hit that's just like, I don't know, cynically put together. I'd rather not have hits. I just think it's too important to me. Because it's to do with mental health, it's to do with your expression, it's to do with, it's art.
Yes.
As opposed to content. It's like, we're not making meat products in a factory. We're creating songs that can change people's lives, and I don't think you can do that by cutting stuff out of newspapers, throwing it in a hat and pulling it out. What rhymes with that? Baby? Got crazy rhymes with baby. That's not songwriting. I just don't agree with that process. So he was the wrong guy. Bob Ezrin was another person that we would have loved to have worked with on that record.
Okay.
Because
did you have a meeting with him? Or no?
We've done loads of stuff with him over the years. He's so funny. We did the Christmas song with him. Because it involved having, rustling children and schools out Another Brick in the Wall. These are all...
I've heard of some of these.
Yes, these numbers
works.
have children's choirs in.
Yes.
And I feel like Bob Ezrin's just the guy to combine rock with children's choirs. So we used him for that at Abbey Road, and it was just an amazing experience. And so we were thinking it's probably going to be Bob Ezrin or Roy Thomas Baker. And so when we took the meeting with Roy, it was at the Sunset Marquee in LA.
Yeah.
It was after one of our shows there. There's a load of people there, all fabulous, famous, important people from the movie scenes and people from big bands and just people we admired from. But the one that made me laugh the most was Roy. He was just so funny. We weren't talking about music. We were just making each other laugh. And he was just... Did you meet Roy?
Never met him. No.
Oh, my God. He's so funny. He was just like... quintessentially English, relentlessly posh, so rock and roll, like nihilistic in the best way, exacting, like absolutely uncompromising, and just so much fun to be around, and had so many great stories. If you're in a restaurant with him and then the steak arrives and it's like slightly darker than he was expecting, he'd say to the waiter, "I asked for medium rare, not fucking cremated," and stuff like that. One of those guys, and he does it in a way that makes people like not uncomfortable, but everyone's laughing. He was brilliant, and I just loved his company. So I thought if we're gonna, to have a difficult second album where we're spending a lot of money. We should do it with someone that makes us laugh, So that was my main criteria, and also he'd recorded my favourite Queen albums, the stuff from the '70s, which is probably Sheer Heart Attack and Jazz are my favourites, and I think those are Roy records.
Did he tell a lot of stories?
Not really, to be honest. We were kind of...
Were you under the gun to
we were, yeah. There was a lot of
the record
pressure.
done?
There was a lot of pressure, and we weren't really up to it. I was making a lot of different lifestyle choices back then that made me less effective as a studio entity. And I wasn't around that much, So when I was, we were working hard.
Okay, so I want to go back to a word that you used that I don't think about in context of music necessarily, but content.
Oh, yeah.
Has music become content?
Oh, God. That's a horrible thought.
Or is some music content? Are there artists that you would say that you don't have to name that are say, yeah, they're more content
I'd be delighted
creators?
to name some.
Okay.
Actually, yeah. That is the debate, isn't it? It's like content versus art. And I think when social media became like an important tool in your musical existence, the idea was to create content that would funnel people towards the important stuff, which is the art. So the art is the recording of the music, right? It's the recording and the performance of the music. Perhaps it's the video, but I think that's going away. Like the budgets for videos, people just don't spend money on videos anymore. Because why? Why would you? When we were making videos, it was helicopters,
right?
Skidoos in some instances, location shoots, huge budget on wardrobe. It was like it really mattered, and it wasn't just us. It was like
That's how it was done back then.
Yeah, I think Janet Jackson was making like £1 million videos and stuff, and now there's no need for a helicopter anymore. You've got drones.
Right.
So which do the same thing. It doesn't feel the same. Like I think if you made, for example, the November Rain video with a drone, it's just not as impressive. It's like you need the grass around / undulating because of the force of the helicopter,
right,
for it to be impressive.
Of course, you could do that with AI, I guess, right?
Ah, yeah, got
Once you
AI.
get the-
I suppose you've got AI. We'll always have AI. Phew! Thank God for AI. It's funny how AI is just so poorly received, isn't it? It's designed to help realise a vision, isn't it?
I have people calling me up. I've done a couple things. I did an NPR thing. I did the thing for the CBS show where they wanted me to basically recreate one of my videos, which is to create a fake AI artist and make a song with it to show people how easy it is to do. And it's interesting to hear people's reactions to it. Just the fact that to write the lyrics takes, 4 seconds, but it really doesn't take that long. I think that these AI programs make it move slowly just so people don't get too freaked out that it just would spit the lyrics out like that. Instead, it'll just go shh.
So it's deliberately building your anticipation.
Yeah, deliberately slows it down so that people aren't creeped out by it, I think.
Yeah. The scary part of it is that it's the cognitive aspect of it. It's like how far away from creating its own prompts is it? It's probably already there, actually.
The good thing about it, I think, is that when people know something's AI, the people that I've talked to, my kids, for example, they don't want to listen to it. They're not interested in it because it's not a real person and they can't connect with it kind of mentally. Doesn't even matter what it sounds like, even if it sounds real. And I found this is a common thing. If I know something's AI, I'm kind of like, even if I think that it's maybe well written, I'm just like, which I think is good. I think that
is really good.
Yeah.
But the problem is, as AI gets better, the stuff that's created by humans, you're going to have to add humanisms in to make it seem less like AI, so that the people who are discerning, which is going to become the majority of the sort of music listening population, they're going to be discerning enough to go, well, that's too perfect, so I won't listen to that anymore. I'm going to listen to this. And then the more shit it is, the better. So we're obliged now to.
But maybe these AI programs will make them sound bad on purpose, so that people are.
So the prompt would have to be, do something that's with this lyric, in this key, at this tempo, with a couple of bum notes. There's that lovely bit of guitar playing towards the end of Can't You Hear Me Knocking, where there's a solo, and he definitely hits the wrong note.
Yeah.
And it's really exposed, and there's a load of sort of room on it, and it's like there's no getting away from the fact that that's the wrong note. And it's one of my favourite things. Like whenever that happens, whenever I hear that, I'm like, fuck, what a great record to have that. There's another one on Exile as well. I've forgotten which song it is, but I just really noticed it the other day. There's a bit of slide stuff that just lands in completely the wrong place, and they're like, I could just imagine them all sort of looking at each other, and then they just leave it in.
Yeah, this is something that in the people that I've interviewed, David Gilmour, for example, that do you take the chance at the time of trying to fix a bum note when you may miss a punch, and then you clip the note before it, you have to fix that, then you clip the note before that.
Yeah.
Because it requires such skill by the person punching in. So then it's like bum notes got left out.
That's more of an 80s problem, I reckon. Because I think that early 70s stuff, the bigger problem is going to be the bleed from that bum note on everything. So it's everybody's performance that's affected by it. And a drop's probably not the thing to do in that instance, I don't think. But yeah, so I think the most important. Do you know what's going to happen?
You didn't say. I didn't know. Okay, who's the content? Who's a content? Give me an artist that's a content creator more than a musician.
Coldplay.
Okay.
Drake.
Okay.
I mean, anything that I don't care about, I just reject as content. It's like there's a lot of stuff out there that's like huge, and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people listen to it, but it means absolutely nothing to me.
Okay.
And I don't care for it, so I resign it to the content file, and until they make something that matters to me, I'm just not. It's going to stay there, And I don't mind saying it. I think it's okay to not like stuff.
Absolutely.
Going back to your very, very first question, when you were asking me like, how do I choose what to cover on the thing, on the channel?
Yeah.
My producer and I have this agreement where like every week we'll try and do 3 episodes. One of them will be something that I find really triggering because I hate it. Okay. One of them will be something that I have to do because everyone will watch it. And one of them will be something that I really care about, which nobody will watch. So I think it's important to cover all of those things, and it's important to express opinions. Like if I listened to Drake, I'd be really gobsmacked if I got through a whole song. It's so boring to me. I don't understand how anybody can listen to that and consider it music or art. And I know that's old man shouting at the cloud. I'm fucking 50 and I don't care, Of course it is. I listen to proper music made by fucking musicians and I care about it. If you're not
I
making
love
that,
honesty like that.
Yeah.
To me, that's the most refreshing thing, is to hear people have opinions.
I genuinely think that, okay, so AI, content, all these things have come about because the commodity that is valued by the music industry has become popularity. And now I think when Ahmet Ertegun invented Atlantic Records, he'd probably see something that excited him. He wouldn't necessarily know why it was exciting, but he'd say, let's sign that, let's throw some money at it, let's see where it goes, let's develop that artist and see what it turns into. Fuck it. This will be fun. This will be where they strap themselves in for the ride. Sometimes things fell by the wayside. They lost a lot of money on a lot of artists that didn't do what they could have done. And they couldn't quantify why those things happened, but they were taking chances. Then I think there was less money around. People started listening to music without paying for it. I think Todd Rundgren had a brilliant observation. He said that music has stopped becoming a product and started becoming a service, which is really interesting. That's kind of like, I think that's actually what happened. Because, I used to think it was, okay, so you make a record, then the tour is to promote the record. Then in my career, it became the record is what you do to justify the touring. So the tour is promoted by the record, but actually it is product and service. That's exactly what it is, isn't it? It's like, so we're just minstrels. We're literally just here to entertain. We are in service of our audience.
I think nowadays that you don't need to have a record to go out on tour.
I'd love it if that was the case, and I have argued that in meetings.
I mean, maybe that's not the case. Maybe the people that are booking these venues are like, no, if you don't have a new record to support, then we're not going to.
Do you know what? I agree with you. I don't think you do need a record, but I get shouted down in that kind of meeting with my band.
Well, tell them what I think then. No, I'm just.
Yeah, I will. I'll just show them this.
In your case, though, I see you all the time. You're out there, and to me, because of that, why do you need to put out a Darkness record to do anything in order to go out and tour?
Yeah, I honestly can't answer that because okay. Here's what I think. That's politics. Mm-hmm. And I think that for like international promoters to be confident about, putting the money up front and securing the routing for a band like The Darkness needs to have an album coming out to justify the excitement, to potentially create some excitement about the fact that we're coming around to play. And we don't want to be resigned to the Heritage Act folder. We want to be a vital, visceral touring experience, and part of that is new material. We want to freshen the setup. We want people to be able to sing along to some new songs, and it keeps it interesting for us and them. So it's kind of like, I don't think it's necessary to have an album to go out on tour, but makes it more fun.
So I didn't know that this was going to be so interesting.
No offense.
No, I'm joking with you. I was when you told me that I was in New York, and I came back early today because you said you were going to be in town. I was like, oh, you need to come in, because I knew that this would be so fun. Yeah. And I love what you do. Not only I think you're an amazing singer and guitar player and writer, but I love what you do on YouTube as well. And I think you have such great, great opinions and ideas. And I really, you're one of my favorite people to watch. And you brought your leather pants. And
these tour hack. I brought a massive suitcase full of clothes, and I just wear leather trousers every day. So I could have just done it with a backpack, really.
I wish my leather pants fit.
Well, when I had dinner with Ian Astbury, and he said to me, someday you have to hang up the leather pants. That day's not here yet. It's just not here. Not for you, not for me.
Really appreciate you coming in today, Justin. You're amazing. Once again, everybody, subscribe to his YouTube channel in addition to listening to The Darkness. And great meeting you in person.
Likewise. Thanks so much for having me. It's been lovely.